Clara. Thank you everybody for being here. You know, as I met with staff, our own district staff all these years, and most recently I have three main topics I talked to them about what we do at the water district here in Santa Clara Valley and what it takes for us to deliver the services we provide. And there's three things I always say. I say, first it takes water. And we're talking about recycled water, we're talking about wastewater. It takes the water to make this happen. It takes the infrastructure. Rose talked about a little bit about that earlier. I'll describe some of our infrastructure. It takes that infrastructure to really make it happen. And we're talking about, you know, potable infrastructure potentially. And then finally, it takes people. It takes the men and women who work at the district. It takes all the support services, and people like you who are involved in this field as well. And for those people, among those people, it takes champions and visionaries. And I think Teresa earlier on talked about some of the earlier champions, our agency, Pat Farrell, Pat Kwok most recently, our board of directors have really been supporters of our latest efforts into this recycled water program that you'll see. But it also takes some of those visionaries on our staff. And I really want to acknowledge Hussein Astrov, because he has been tenacious in putting programs like this together, him and his staff, as well as really being a catalyst for really energizing our recycled water program these last few years. In fact, when I came back to the water utilities and spending time on our watershed side of the organization, I think the first meeting I had with any staff in the utility was with Hussein, and he laid out conservation and recycling and where he wanted us to go, and he's really been visionary, so I want to acknowledge Hussein for a lot of hard work. So with that, and again, that's really, you know, our case study is really just that, water, infrastructure, and people. And I'll describe here at Santa Clara just what that's meant to us as we, where we are today and where we think we can go in the future. So again, for those of you who are not familiar with us and who we are, again, this is what we do. We serve the Santa Clara County. 15 cities, we have 12 water retailers. Right now we serve treated water customers and the groundwater customers that take water from our basin. There's over 4,700 direct well users that also pump from our groundwater basin, which makes Santa Clara County a unique aspect of really developing what had used to be called indirect, we'll just call it potable reuse, but certainly opportunities for that exist in our county. A little historical perspective about our agency. We were formed in 29, and really at the time, the groundwater table was sinking. In fact, that's a newspaper article from that era that said 4 feet of the last 14 years of land surface subsidence. It really galvanized the community. Again, it was largely agricultural in nature, recognized that we need to do something and government needs to step in. And so they formed the district in 29. In fact, there was a bond measure. The formation of this occurred just after the stock market crash. Bonds were later passed by the voters to really help fund some of the early infrastructure I'll show you in just a bit. We merged with flood control in '68, and flood control in our county used to be done by the county. In fact, most parts of the state, flood control is largely a county government function. In Santa Clara County, the wisdom of those back in the 60s realized there should be a merger of that function because water resources. And much of our creeks are used not only to convey flood waters like it is today, but also it's a conveyance system for recharging. So it's a very important consideration in our region. And then we added stream stewardship to our mission in the District Act, which passed by the legislature in 1999 to really emphasize that in order to do our job, it's water supply, flood protection, and really being stewards of the environment as we do that work. Certainly recycled water is a component of stewardship. So today we have a comprehensive mission, safe, reliable water, flood protection, and a stream stewardship that I mentioned. A little bit about facts about our system that we have today that was developed over these last 100 or so years, or close to 100. 10 dams, surface water reservoirs initially used to store local runoff. The realization, let's be sustainable with local resources. And these were constructed over the last 50 or 60 or so years. We have 3 drinking water treatment plants located in our county. This one advanced water purification center you'll see a little bit more about today. 3 pumping plants that really help boost that water to those plants. We talked about energy earlier. In our county, we're the wholesaler. And so our single largest use of energy in our agency is to pump water. In fact, our energy use, close to 90% of the energy consumption that this agency consumes is to pump water from the state and federal projects and also to boost water at our Rinconada water treatment plant. So it's very interesting, and it's not really well understood. We're looking at ways to be much more efficient with energy consumption. We have state-of-the-art water quality lab that's located just on the other side of this facility. 140 miles of large transmission piping, 275 miles of streams that we manage, and then we have recharge ponds that really help recharge the basin. On average, we recharge the basin by about 100,000 acres a year. Here's the map of the system of Santa Clara County. It's not a map that shows Highway 101, 680, 280. It's a map that shows the major infrastructure that delivers water to Santa Clara County. And what you see evidence on there is the importation system that's described. What we also overlaid on here in purple is the purple pipe system that exists in our 4 publicly owned treatment works in Santa Clara County: Palo Alto, Sunnyvale, San Jose, Santa Clara, and in South County, Gilroy, and Morgan Hill. And we're taking the advantage of some of what we're thinking about today of really helping to make better use of that effluent to really expand the use of recycled water in our county. Another way to look at our history of Santa Clara County is through a graph such as this. This describes the groundwater table historically in Santa Clara County, one of the index wells in San Jose. You see the surface elevation in the top of the line. You see the subsidence that was evidenced there, over 13 feet in certain areas that occurred in the county between 15 and 1970. The blue line shows the variation in the groundwater table that existed over time. You see what happened in the 1920s. That table was falling, the subsidence was occurring. Then we formed the water district, constructed dams to really store local runoff to help recharge the basin. Then you see post-World War II boom, the increase in population, and you see the continued degradation of the groundwater table to a level that was really the lowest point in the 1960s. At that time, we brought in both the Hetch-Hetchy system to Santa Clara County and the State Water Project that really helped boost up the better management of the resources. And you see the rebound of the groundwater table. And you see in the late 80s, basically the basin was again falling. We brought in the San Felipe Division of the Central Valley Project that brought the basin up to where it is today, a very healthy layer. It gives us about 300,000 acre of active storage available to us to carry on in a multi-year drought. So this is what we happened to Santa Clara County in our lifetime. We went from the Valley of Heart's Delight to Silicon Valley. And you see there some of the key companies that are in our county. And although we went to orchards for agriculture, we have orchards now, server farms that provide the high-tech economy that not only Santa Clara County thrives on, but certainly Northern California, and if not the nation, in terms of the innovation and the activities, the job, the growth, the creation, the infrastructure, our cell phones and so forth, from some of this technology. So we look at water supply, and so whenever we have meetings with people now, we go out and we hold a glass of water, we ask people, where does this water come from? And we say, okay, it came from the faucet or it came from the pitcher outside. And then we explain to people, where does the water come from? Because very few people know where it comes from. This came from the groundwater table nearby, below our feet. That water was recharged by water that we had from our local reservoirs. It could have been water from the state and federal water projects conveyed from Shasta or Orville Dam. But that's the type of information we have to give. We talked about public information going forward to help our public better understand really where does our water sources come from. And particularly if you think about recycled water, and we realize that it's so precious, we've taken it for granted as a public. We recognize the importance of it as folks that are involved in this industry, but yet we've sort of been too shy about what we've been doing. And it takes now with recycled water as a ledge point, sort of helping to explain to people where this is all about and where it comes from. And so for us in Santa Clara County, it's imported water. Today, over 50% of our supply in our county comes imported in one of 3 sources. Hetch-Hetchy, which is about 15%. The state and federal water projects, the other 40%. And that state and federal water is imported through the Delta. And so there's all those issues with regard to new conveyance, which we're very actively involved in, to recognize we've got to improve the reliability. Yet, we've got to reduce our dependency on Delta supplies, and that's why recycled water is so important to us. Our local service in groundwater, it roughly provides about 30% of our needs today in our county. Although half the water used in Santa Clara County is pumped from the groundwater in any given year. Conservation, a major contributor. We talked earlier with the state in terms of what we heard about really some incentives from the state to really conserve. Right now in our county, we estimate that we save over 50,000 acre-foot a year due to the active conservation programs that we are involved with in terms of rebates and really encouraging people to be wiser with their water. We hope to double that in the next 20 years. And now recycled water. We're building upon the backbone of what's occurred in our county up to now and realizing what can we do going forward. As we looked at our needs in the future, and again, at some of the foresight that's occurred by those who came before us, really trying to build a system, not just for today's needs, but the future, we're still benefiting from that. So here we have a look at our normal supplies that, and you see shown there, demand plus conservation, and you see if we fast forward to 2035, in a normal supply year, normal hydrologic year, whatever is considered normal now, we believe that we pretty much have the supplies that we already have in place to meet those needs. But what is of great concern is really the multi-year drought that we envision can happen. We've seen it historically, and it will happen again. We estimate that we could be short as much as 47,000 acre-foot, even taking into consideration all the things we have in place currently today. It gives rise for us to think, how do we meet that shortage and better manage those resources more effectively going forward? And how do we plan to fill that gap? We're committed to recognize that the future increase in our water demands in Santa Clara County will be met through two sources, conservation and water recycling. And that assumes reliability of other sources as well, but this is where we're headed. And this is why what we're here today talking about is so important to not only the water district, but certainly the community and county of Santa Clara County. Additional conservation, new groundwater recharge ponds. We have about 300 acres of ponds that you see, one of which is outside our office. And then looking at how do we expand the economically non-potable, and then looking at potable reuse, anywhere from 20 to 30,000 acre foot a year of potential that we think is within a horizon of time frame in the next 10 to 15 years. So really, searching for those sustainable water supplies, because the water cycle never ends. And staff showed me this graph, and they said, see, the dirty water is there, and then it gets cleaned up through all that technology we're going to do. So you can see the little chickenpox, what that is. I didn't know what that was. Okay, so the current uses of recycled water in Santa Clara County. Agriculture. And yes, Santa Clara County still has some agriculture. You know, it was Valley of Hearts of Light many years ago. It's predominantly in South County. We have a wastewater plant that provides tertiary treated water that we help wholesale in South County to have that agricultural purpose still thrive in our county. Industrial uses. We have some industry in North County that relies upon this for cooling water, very important source. It's important in terms of improving the quality of that recycled water, which we'll talk about too in a little bit. And then obviously landscape irrigation that's done in our county. And then it's done through partnerships. And again, shout out to those wastewater agencies particularly. Palo Alto has a wastewater facility. Santa Clara, along with City of San Jose, jointly operate the water pollution control facility. City of Sunnyvale and the South County Regional Wastewater Authority. They are the sources of wastewater treated that then becomes the source for our recycled water or potable water reuse options. So giving an example of one of the systems, South Bay Water Recycling is a very famous system. You know, we talk about the visionaries and champions. Certainly they existed at the City of San Jose. Eric Rosenblum is one who's here today, and the others. John Suffelbein is here. He was out, maybe he's out in a conference call. John carried on for a few years after, in the years 2000, to really continue to further that real desire the city has in terms of their policy and in terms of the goals of the mayor, as well as just making a wise use of this resource. So what you see on this chart is really a schematic of their piping system, their purple pipe system, together with some of the other key features that make that system operational today. They have the ability, I think, today to serve around over 10,000 acre foot a year. Much more capability with the size of that system, but certainly the customers today are around 10,000 acre foot. Right now, our county-wide, we're about 15,000 acre foot of recycled water, which is about 5% of our needs today. Now we look going forward in time. So you see on this chart, those little bulleted items, that's the actual recycled water use in our county. So yeah, we're up to about 15,000 in our 4 systems that exist today. Looking forward in time, can we see an expansion of non-potable? Does that make economic sense? We have one of our largest investor-owned utilities that really saw a need and a value of really developing recycled water in their service area. And there may be some real advantages to further develop the non-potable uses. It doesn't come without cost, as we talked about earlier, in terms of the piping cost. And so that's something that will certainly be visited over time to see is that the wisest use of resources for non-potable. But then it leads us to what could be the real on the horizons potable reuse, which is really what we really want to focus on today. Our board has a goal of 10% of recycling by basically by 2025. I think you think about that's about 40,000 acre foot of recycled water. And so how can we best achieve that? And the plan I'm going to describe to you is really our first foray to really being active. Our history at the water district has been, we've been a passive contributor to recycled water. I will say in the recent history, in the long history, back in the 70s, we were active. We helped develop the Palo Alto Recycled Water Facility. We helped develop the Gilroy Reclamation Facility early on. And then we sort of put them aside as we ventured forth and really got fully invested in imported water. Recognizing, though, the need for the development of recycled water. But what also was a key catalyst in Santa Clara County was a waste disposal problem. And so the treatment plants of San Jose, Santa Clara face issues with the state and regional boards about doing something different with their effluent than simply discharging into the bay. And that really was the genesis for South Bay Water Recycling. We contributed at that time as a partner, much like Metropolitan Water District in Southern California contributes in the form of a cost per acre foot to help incentivize further that development. But as we fast forward in time, I think there was recognition that something needs to change in order to really develop, further develop recycled water in Santa Clara County. One of the key reasons is that that wastewater driver is no longer a driver. The city had what they call a flow cap, if you will, of 120 million gallons a day average dry weather flow. They're well below that flow cap right now, and for the foreseeable future, they may not be up at that limit. So barring any changes in their NPDES permit for other contaminants of concern, they will not have a driver for their ratepayers, along with their sanitary sewer ratepayers, to really invest further in recycled water. That gives rise for the water district and our customers to really think about how does this become a greater role and a greater need for water supply agency to really engage and participate. And so that leads us to this facility, the Advanced Water Purification Center, it's under construction right now in El Viso, under an agreement between ourselves and the city of San Jose and the city of Santa Clara. We have this project under construction. It's about probably 70% complete. It involves much of what we talked about earlier with Rose's discussion about the different treatment trains, which I'll describe briefly. It's an exciting project. It's funded by primarily the Water District with several $1 million worth of funding and the land from the city of San Jose. And then also from the Bureau of Reclamation in terms of a funding source. And even the state of California through grants has also provided funding. This is a photograph of a 2.5 million gallon stainless steel tank that's really going to be the product water where it's going to be stored prior to injection or redistribution back into the potable water system. This is an aerial view of the plant. This is, I think, from our webcam. Staff decided during the construction to put a webcam on site so through the entire course of construction we could chronicle what's been going on. I think about 6 or 8 months ago, one of our public information staff presented us a little 60-second video that really, you saw the fast-forward action of what built from the ground up. So here's what you see. It looks like pretty much, I don't know what it looks like close to today. I was out there yesterday, in fact, and it pretty much looks like a facility that's really getting ready to become operational. Now that they've got all the major infrastructure in, power is now fully powered by the power sources versus generator power. And so now it's a matter of finishing up some of the microfiltration systems and then doing some startup and testing. And that's what it looks like from the inside. No, this is not Orange County. No, this is not the rare facility, which we always would show because we're very proud of the champions that existed in Southern California that really helped us be where we are today. And so this is what will look like at our facility as we get operational. And so, as Rose described, this is the treatment processes that will be in place down at this new Advanced Water Purification Center. Microfiltration, reverse osmosis, and then UV disinfection. And this plant will be a 10 million gallon a day facility that will be used to blend with the existing non-potable tertiary water to make great improvements to the overall water quality for the non-potable water. Right now, that water is anywhere from 700 TDS water. This water, this plant will be 40 TDS, and we'll blend it back with that to produce probably on the order of 500 TDS water. Be great for those who are concerned about some of the irrigation issues, and certainly great for those on cooling towers that really want a better quality water for cooling water. So, but it also serves a really valuable purpose for us, not only to improve non-potable water, but really to showcase technology that exists today, but now in Santa Clara County, as basically a foundation for us to consider as we venture forth to do potable reuse. It may not be this facility exactly, it may be a sister facility that will be built adjoining this, that will be the ultimate facility we'll build to go to direct potable reuse. And what are those possibilities of use? So as I mentioned, we have a number of recharge ponds throughout the county, and we can recharge it to those perk ponds. We don't have the big sink like Orange County has, this big, huge basin. We have distributed basins that are not quite as large, and so it takes a little bit more infrastructure to manage to get to those locations. We could perhaps go to reservoirs. That's a photograph of Anderson Reservoir, and that may or may not be the best use because of other issues with health-related matters and retention and so forth. And plus, these facilities, while they are water conservation, they're also flood conveyance facilities when we do have water over the spillway. We don't want someone to complain that they were flooded with recycled water that we put into Anderson Dam, which they could argue, I guess, that they were flooded downstream. And then perhaps even injection into the aquifer as sort of options for us to consider. It was already talked about. It was very important, Rhodes described public acceptance. And so what we did early on here in the last couple of years is we developed a master plan for reaching out to the community to understand the messaging and understand what they think about potable reuse. And so we have good information, a good plan going forward of how we continue to spearhead understanding. So for example, the Advanced Water Purification Center has been a showcase facility for us. We've given a number of tours during construction. We hosted a media yesterday to just help them understand why this is an important facility for Santa Clara County. And certainly, you saw the brochure out in the lobby. I don't know if our little displays out there, is it out there? That shows, the highest quality water tomorrow from the best available technology today is really some of our thematic messaging. We've also worked with others in terms of further master planning on how we can, be smarter about how we want to grow recycled water. We certainly did our own water supply infrastructure master plan that really is our foundation that describes, hey, 20 to 30,000 acre foot a year of recycled water could be developed that really makes sense for us going forward. We're working on a potable reuse feasibility study. I'll describe something briefly where we are with regard to that. And then there's a number of concurrent studies. South Bay Recycled Water Master Plan. We're working jointly with the City of San Jose and the City of Santa Clara and the TRIB agencies to really study what's the best path forward of expanding the use of recycled water with South Bay water recycling. We're working with the City of Sunnyvale on a master plan to see how can we best use recycled water from that treatment facility. Palo Alto and Mountain View are also similarly doing a recycled water master plan. And we've been involved for many years in South County as the water wholesaler down there of recycled water to see how can we expand the use in South County. So what are some of the drivers? These things I think we're already well aware of. In our case, it's our own board policies. I mentioned our board has a goal for us of 10% of water recycled of our total water needs by the mid-1920s, or 2020, I should say. Future supply shortages we've described. We know that involves many issues. The uncertainty of the Delta, and even if we had a Delta plan today, we know it's 15, 20 years before that isolated facility, the conveyance facility, is operational. So we know that may be a panacea long-term to help shore up our imported water, which is very important to us. It doesn't diminish the importance of investing in recycled water here today. We know it takes many years to develop these projects, as you described. We know that there's sea level rise, there's climate change, there's other shortfalls. Our demand forecasts have been altered in recent years. We've had differences in weather patterns. We've had economical impacts that have tended to reduce some of our demands, which on one hand is very good. It helps with conservation. It kills us with regard to managing this from a water management standpoint in terms of how do you pay for this, in terms of the water rates and the spiking and so forth that goes with volumetric rates, which is primarily how we recover our costs. Infrastructure needs. I described our system. It's a pretty important system that delivers water day in and day out to Santa Clara County. There's many things that have to be done to make sure it ensures reliability. We're very fortunate to have multiple sources of water to meet our needs. Right now, for example, the South Bay Aqueduct that brings the state water project water to our county is shut down. So, for example, our penitentiary water treatment plant, which is the terminus of the South Bay Aqueduct, is relying 100% on other sources of water. And we can make them available through our Central Valley project or even from Anderson Reservoir. And so, and hence you can provide through intertime. And so it's pretty exciting to think, having these multiple sources, and it gives us a lot of resilience. And again, recycled water is another component of that. And then making wise investment of public funds. Again, the public is really very sensitive to increasing rates. We see that throughout. In fact, we're giving a presentation to the City Council of San Jose in early December. And part of their concerns is where are the rate process going? What's the trends in our water rates going forward? That's it. Thank you, Pat. Future possibilities. We talked about direct potable reuse. You've seen this kind of schematic before. It's the hydrologic cycle from a different perspective. We have basically the wastewater plant to start there. You get a discharge to the bay, or you can have non-potable uses. We can go to advanced treatment, put that back into our recharge basins perhaps, and then put that back into the potable water system and get it back into our cycle once again. Indirect potable reuse. That's a study we've recently undertaken. This is a map of the county. The green area is basically our recharge basin in North County. The sites of the Advanced Water Purification Center and the location of some of the key recharge facilities that are further basically upstream in the system. And so the matter is how best to efficiently move that water from where we have the treatment system to these recharge ponds for adequate recharge. Looking at the cost comparison, these are rough estimates on our part. What are the more cost-effective ways to move forward versus the least cost-effective? We're looking at some of those recharge systems, even direct reuse, and versus some other systems like Anderson IPR. The service might not have the best economics for us going forward. So where are we headed at Santa Clara Valley Water District? We're planning to invest in Water Reuse Association and their foundation's direct potable reuse initiative. In fact, our board Recycle Water Subcommittee recently voted to recommend to the full board to fund that study, that effort is underway by the foundation, and we'll hear more about that from Mike Marcus shortly. Recognizing, and certainly evidenced by Rhodes' presentation, sound scientific research is essential to positively impact public policy and gain public acceptance. We have an agreement with NWRI, National Water Research Institute, to have them convene groups to work with us to help us better study issues and answers going forward that can help us better prepare ourselves and the public for this next venture going. And then finally, potable reuse may play a key role in meeting the district's challenges going forward. We're excited about the prospect of not only using it for groundwater recharge, but there's very good potential for us to put this highly treated water into our raw water system and then convey that to not only our recharge pond, but some of our surface water treatment facilities going forward. So a very exciting promise for us. So again, before I conclude, again, it takes what? It takes the water. It takes the infrastructure, and it takes champions, it takes people like you who care about this, work with us going forward to really make this dream that we have a reality. Thank you. And I'll take your questions.